Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. In this one we're going to go over the MLB for Friday, September 27th. And as you can see, the opening odds are on the screen. The earliest game is a distant one from the others. It's Cincinnati versus the Chicago Cubs. And the Reds come in at plus 126. The Cubs come in at minus 149. The Cubs are favorite. The Reds are an underdog. Let's see where the odds are currently. Plus 126, minus 146. So a few points lower for each team on the odds, as you can see. We're going to focus on the minus 196, the Cincinnati Reds in this one. On the spread, the plus 190, plus 1.5, excuse me. Minus 196 is the cost. That over is at that minus 105 sweet spot. Pay attention to that. Always pay attention to the ones at minus 105, especially in baseball. Especially in baseball. You want to pay attention to that. That minus 196 looks promising, but the Chicago Cubs are at home. This could be one of those 1-point games where you get the Reds on the spread and the Cubs on the money line, where Vegas makes money clearly across the board. But always pay attention to where the odds, where the money is going, where the bets are going, the percentages, the splits they call it. Always pay attention to that. Let's go to the next one. All right, Chicago White Sox versus the Detroit Tigers. Plus 138. The White Sox are an underdog at positive 138. Minus 164 from the Detroit Tigers. The minus 154, we always focus on the negatives first when it comes to the spreads. The minus 154, that's where Vegas makes their money, as the White Sox are an underdog. And this under looks like it will take it at that minus 122. The over is at 7.5, even 100. If that stays that way throughout the day, more than likely it will go under that 7.5. But as far as this, the Tigers are minus 164. And that minus 164 is based off 98% of the money currently. And that minus 154 for the White Sox is only 1% of the money currently. Look for that position to hold with that 1%. Obviously, it's not going to stay that 1% when the sharps go in. This is probably going to increase around 25, 30% when the sharps go in later today. Stay focused on that. And yeah, looks like the Detroit Tigers could pull this off, but that 1% at that minus 154 doesn't really, well, you would have to go with that if it stays that way, because at plus 128, they're paying that to 99% of people. Obviously, that's going to decrease to about 75% of people, maybe 70% of people in the day as the day goes on. But when the sharps go in, but as it stays right now, look for the White Sox on the spread and the Tigers on the money line, as well as the under that minus 122. All right, the Phillies versus the Washington Nationals, minus 190 for the Phillies, plus 160 for the Nationals. And let's see where the money is going with this, with minus 190. Let's scroll down. 99% of money going with Philadelphia currently. I would stick with that pick only if let's not focus on the 99 right now. That will change. Minus 190. If this increases or stays the same, go with the Phillies. If they decrease or decrease significantly by 10 or more points, if they decrease significantly, look to go the other direction. Look to go with Washington in that game. Only if the Phillies decrease in their odds significantly, look to go with Washington on the ML. Now, as the minus 118 is the higher cost for the Phillies, I would probably go with Phillies across the board with this one. The minus 118, they are massive favorites on the spread as well. 95% of the money, 92% of the betting. The over is getting 73% of the money, 77% of the betting slips. And let's see. The minus 106, minus 114. The minus 106. Now, in this case, the lower cost doesn't really matter in the base. It doesn't really apply as much in baseball. That's why I go with that minus 105. That is a sweet spot. That hits way more than that minus negative 115. I would go with the 106 in this one. Normally, I'd go with the 114 when it dips like that. But that minus 106 is a cost that you would not ignore in this one at that 73%, only if it maintains above about 65% of the money here. I would go with the over. All right, Pittsburgh versus New York Yankees. All right, plus 152 for Pittsburgh, minus 180 for the New York Yankees. All right, let's see where we are. 1% and 1% of the money. So naturally, people aren't betting much on the Pirates. That's been the case all year long currently. Minus 180 for the New York Yankees, plus 110 for the Yankees on the cost at that minus 1.5 on the spread, that is. I would go at Pittsburgh across the board in this game only because of that minus 132. Only because of this minus 132 on the spread. And this plus 152 here. Only 1% of the money here and 1% of the money here. But the only way, because a lot more people are definitely going to, this is going to maintain. It's been that way all year long with the Yankees more than any other team. When they have such high percentages here, they normally maintain that. So they're not going to drop too much below about 93, maybe 92. They're not going to go below 90 at all, here or here, especially against the Pirates. So look out for Pittsburgh as long as the odds maintain itself, especially at this minus 132 cost right here on the spread. Now, under is getting that minus 128. The over is getting a positive result. So I would stick with the under in this one, where the cost is higher. And this cost, they would have to pay that out, plus 104. I would stick with the under as long as that holds, especially above that minus 120 or minus 118 cost on the under. I would go with the under. Miami Marlins versus Toronto Blue Jays, plus 152 for the Marlins, minus 180 for the Blue Jays. Minus 140 cost for the Marlins on the ML. Now, 99% going with the Blue Jays currently. 30% going with the Blue Jays on the money. Almost a flip-flop. Even with the betting slips, 90% of the betting slips going with Toronto, 30% going with of the money going with Toronto on the money line. The spread 99% on the money, and this minus 180 is a very high value in this one. And this is the last week of baseball regular season, so they're gonna look to cash out significantly. Now, that minus 140 is super high for a run line in baseball. That is a high cost, that is. I would more than likely go with Miami across the board in this one, only because Vegas will make up their money here. Minus 140. Once again, these are just my early selections. I will have my final picks on my Patreon when I've done the final analysis with the betting odds. And yeah, I will do that then. But that minus 140, plus 152, minus 180. I think that minus 180 might be the sacrificial lamb in this one, only because it is minus 140 for Miami. Now, it could be the case where Toronto wins and Miami hits that spread, but we will see where the odds go because they're only getting 1% on the money line at that plus 152. The Sharps are going to go with that plus 152 later on. So keep that in mind. And I'd go with the under 8.5 in that one at that minus 120 cost. Cleveland versus Houston. Houston plus 102. Cleveland minus 120 cost in this one. Let's see where the odds are going. scroll down. All right, this one's more of a sane one. All right, 82% of the money going with Houston, 63% of the money going with Houston on the run line. Let's see where the money is at plus 172 and plus 102. There is no way Vegas is paying that with such high percentages on the money. And I think Houston will hold up on the money throughout the day. Not saying they're going to maintain at 82, but they will maintain above 50% for sure. Same thing here on the spread. So in this one, more than likely, I would go with that 210 minus 210 cost for Cleveland, and that minus 120 on the run line. And I would get that sweet spot, that minus 105, with that under 7.5. And it's only getting 22% of the money, 16% of the betting slips. I will go with that under on the money. All right, Tampa Bay versus Boston, plus 110 minus 130, minus 196 on the run line. All right, minus 196 cost for Tampa Bay at that 68%. I would join the public in that one for sure. I would join the public in that one. And I would go with Boston. Boston's at minus one. Hold on. Boston's at minus 130. They're at plus 110. Okay, they're only getting 5% of the money here, though. The only way I was going to go with Boston, but that's a little too high. That's 95%. I would only go with Boston if they get somewhere around 80 or less, 80% or less. Otherwise, I'd pick Tampa Bay across the board. Only if they go 80% or less of the money. Let's see where the cost on the run line is. All right, yes, that under minus 128 plus 104. Yeah, I would go with that minus 128 at that 15% for sure in that one. Let's go on to the next one. All right, Kansas City versus Atlanta Braves, plus 158 for Kansas City, minus 188 for Atlanta Braves, minus 132 cost for the underdog Royals on the run line. Let's see where the money is. Only 1%. And they're at minus 134 plus 112 for the Braves. The only way, well, I would go with Kansas City on the run line in that one. I would go with Kansas City. They are getting 77% of the money, though, here. 77% of the money here. And 99% of the money on the money line. And that's a high money line value, especially for baseball, minus 188. So I would probably pick Atlanta across the board. The minus 134 at 77%, that's quite steep. A lot of people going with that in this one. And it's not super high either. It's about mid in baseball, about average. I would definitely go with the minus 188 Braves on the ML. And I would take the risk and go with the Braves on the run line as well at that plus 112 cost. Only 14% of the money going under. Sorry about that. Only 14% of the money going under. And I would fade the public. I would join the public on that one. I would go under on that one. I'd go under. All right. New York Mets versus the Milwaukee Brewers, minus 116 to minus 102 on the ML, plus 136 to minus 164. 164 cost for the Milwaukee Brewers at that minus 102. And they are an underdog, so the Mets could win. I'm going with that. I'm going with the Mets winning for sure. This is going to change. They're not going to stay at 95%. This is going to change. The Mets are going to I would go with the Mets. 66% of the money going with the Milwaukee Brewers at that minus 164. I'm joining the public across the board here. Mets on the ML, Brewers on the run line, and I'm going with the over. Wait, hold on. Where are we at? 87% going with that minus 118. I would only go over if it stays right where it is at that minus 118 or higher. So I would go with the over currently, but if it goes down to minus 115, I'm going under because that would make the under the minus 105 cost. So as it stands, I'm going over on that one. All right, LA Dodgers versus the Colorado Rockies, minus 184 to plus 154, minus 137 cost for the run line Dodgers. Let's see where the money is going. 94% going with the Dodgers, 98% going with them on the run line, 94% at this minus 184. I would join the public on the ML in this one. Only if this remains above, I'll say 85%. This is going to dip when the sharps go in. It's going to go to about 85, 80%. I will still stick with the Dodgers on the money line. The run line, minus 137 to plus 114. The run line, I would more than likely go. Hold on. I would go with the Rockies only. I would go with the Rockies at that plus 114. Wait, hold on. Where's the money going? 98%. These are sporadic numbers too. The minus 137 for the Dodgers. Hold on. And they are super high favorites at that minus 137. I'm going to have to check the very opening odds. Let's see what the costs on the opening odds are. Hold on the run line. See, it's minus 137 plus 112. Currently, it's minus 137 plus 114. And it increased, getting only 2% of the money. So I would go with the Dodgers on the ML and the Rockies on the run line. And I would go with the under 11.5. Yeah, I would do that. That's what I would do with that game. Baltimore Orioles versus the Minnesota Twins, plus 144 money line value for the Orioles, minus 172 for Minnesota. And once again, minus 137 for the Orioles, plus 114 cost for the Twins. Let's see where the money is going, though. Let's scroll down a little bit. All right, Orioles are only getting 25% of the run line, 39% of the money line. So Minnesota is still a sizable favorite. I would join the public. Wait, hold on. 39% at that minus 137 cost, plus 114. Let's see. 75%. Okay, I would join the public. I would probably join the public across the board. Hold on. I would join the public across the board in this one because they are getting 61% of the ML, 75% of this. No, I would go with the Orioles on the run line. I would go with the Orioles on the run line and the Twins on the money line. And I would go that under at that 8.5 minus 105. That is a sweet spot when it comes to, especially on the totals. That is a sweet spot on the totals in baseball. Keep that in mind. All right, Rangers versus the Angels, minus 172 for the Rangers, plus 144 for the Angels. And the cost is at minus 113 for the Los Angeles Angels, the higher cost. And they're an underdog. Under is getting that minus 105, 7.5. Let's see where the money is going, though. 94% going with Texas, 65% going with Texas on the money line. 90th percentile on the run line. Let's see. I would go with Texas across the board. I would join the public across the board in this one because they're not significant. It's basically when it comes to the cost, it's basically somewhat of a pick 'em, somewhat even. It's basically even. It's somewhat of a push. But this minus 172 stands out at that. This is going to go down, but it's still going to stand out at that minus 172. 94 percentile is probably going to go down to about 80, 84%, maybe even a little bit lower come game time. And that under minus 1.5, I would actually fade the public. I would actually join the public on the money in that one. I would go over. I expect that one to go over that 7.5 total in that one. All right, let's go to the next one. All right. San Diego Padres versus the Arizona Diamondbacks. Plus 102 for the Padres, minus 120 for the Diamondbacks, minus 196 for the Arizona Diamondbacks. All right. 14% of the money going with the Diamondbacks, 62% of the money on the spread going with the Diamondbacks. So Diamondbacks are a sizable favorite in this one, and it reflects right here to minus 196 based off of 62%. And that's not a high percentile. That makes it actually more comfortable to pick them because it's not a high percentile. And it can fluctuate. It will change. And it might decrease toward in the 50s. But I would go with Arizona on the run line for sure. Now, Padres are getting 86% of the money despite only getting 22% of the bets on the money line. So people looking to cash that out quick. Vegas knows what they're doing. The sharps know what they're doing. The sharps are the high bettors that bet late. Minus 120 for the Arizona Diamondbacks in that one. And that over is getting that minus 105 sweet spot. I would join them on the, I would go with the over 9 in that one. All right, Oakland A's versus the Seattle Mariners. Minus 168 for the Seattle Mariners. Plus 142 for the Oakland A's. And that minus 162 run line for Oakland stands out to me. Let's see where the money is going. 100% of the money going with Seattle on these run line. Money line is getting 83%. So Seattle's a huge favorite in this one. You would have to fade the public across the board currently. As it stands currently, you would have to fade them, go with Oakland across the board. Take that risk, and you might get paid. This is that plus 142. I would go with Oakland in that one. Over 7.5 minus 105 sweet spot. I would join the public as well in that one because they're going to have to pay this out to the sharps. They're going to look to make money here at that minus 162, and they're going to make money here at the minus 105 cost. Even though it's lower, you're getting 89% of the money. Vegas is not losing any money. All right, St. Louis versus the San Francisco Giants. Plus 104 for St. Louis. Minus 122 for the Giants. Plus 172 on the cost on the run line. Minus 210 for the underdog Giants on the run line. Over-under is dead even at minus 110. That now see the minus 110 cost, it happens more in other sports, basketball and football and soccer more than it does in baseball, because baseball usually hovers around 118, 105, 115, minus 120, minus 122, those type of costs. It's rarely around that even, standard, that minus 110 cost. So St. Louis is getting 41% of the money. 54% of the money, 42% is going with the run line on the Cardinals. So So they are getting 54. That's a lot of money going with this one plus 172. I would definitely go with San Francisco on the run line at that minus 210. That's too much to ignore. Too much to ignore. And as it stands, I would go with St. Louis, and that is only because they're below the San Francisco in money on the run line. That 42% based off that minus 210. Now that 54% is basing it off of the plus 104. If that cost goes as it stands here, I would go with San Francisco on the money line. They're just more profitable to Vegas. It's that simple. But that over under minus 110 cost, let's see where the money is going. 90% going over, I would go with the under. Fade the public in that one. Fade them. Only 10% of the money going with San Francisco. The cost is too even. And this will definitely be a money game for Vegas across the board if that happened. For sure. But yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. I've been Scott. Pray every day. My final picks will be on my Patreon. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. You guys take care.